time for Cigar Talk, the fastest growing cigar show in the nation. Whether you're a new cigar enthusiast or a cigar aficionado, we have something for everyone, bringing you the best interviews, cigar reviews, and weekly giveaways. So grab yourself a cigar.
It's time to light 'em up.
Welcome back, Cigar Talk. I'm your host, Rob Jones. We're in the Micallef headquarters, and we have two special guests that's going to join us today. We have El Presidente, Dan Thompson, up first. How are you doing today, Dan?
Hey, Rob. It's great to have you here with us.
Man, we always love coming to the headquarters. It's like, you know, I feel like a kid during Halloween going around trying to get free candy, except here I'm trying to get free cigars.
I know. That's when we brought them up ahead of time,
you.
so you didn't have to go down into the humidor.
So anyway, let's talk about what we're smoking. I'm going to be real impressed with yours today because I already know, but go ahead and tell everybody what you're smoking and what size it is as well.
Well, for everybody out there, today I'm enjoying the Migdalia 6x46, which is the favorite of Rob Jones. You know, you always try to make your guests feel comfortable when they come into your house. So, Rob, this is for you.
And I want to say, you know what? I've been here many times, and I have to say that I always feel very comfortable and welcome. So thank you guys for that.
Well, we love having you here, and it's just a great way to spend some time, and we're excited to talk to your audience here on Cigar Talk.
Well, we're excited to be here because I know you got some big news coming up and some projects going on. So we're going to get to that here in a little bit. But I'm also smoking the Migdalia Corona Extra, which is the 6x46. One of my go-to cigars. Everybody knows that. And I got to tell you, last month, I kind of started smoking some different Micallef cigars and brought my love back. It's like, you know, I get stuck on the Migdalia.
Sure.
And I sometimes clouds my choices because I go in the humidor and I know right where the Migdalias are, you know. So I sometimes overlook like the Herencia Habano, which has become one of my favorite cigars as well.
It's funny you would bring it up. The cigar I'm smoking the most is the Herencia Habano.
Isn't it fantastic?
I love it in the Toro format. The original Torpedo is a really excellent cigar, but the Toro just, you know, like in most cases, it's the superior product.
Well, you know, I was going to say, when I first started smoking the Herencia Habano, I really enjoyed smoking the Torpedo. But then when I smoked the Toros, I actually swapped over and started smoking the Toros over the Torpedoes, which is unusual for me. But I just kind of gravitated to it once I smoked it, and I was on fire with it.
You know, it's something that we're talking to a lot of people about. The different shapes or vitolas provide different experiences. And I think that we've spent a lot of time talking about the Migdalia and the Toro versus the 6x46. And the reality is they're both great cigars.
They're great.
They're just different.
They're different. And that's something that I really learned over the last, 3 or 4 months because, I've really broadened my horizons. And I smoked a lot of Toros. In fact, somebody in here called me a traitor because I was smoking more Toros. And what I tried to explain to Sam was that what I realized is it is a different cigar. And so enjoy the best of both worlds.
Yeah, you don't have to be self-limiting. And, Sam, we just finished Micallef Madness. I think that the selection we all feel good about. We caught him ballot stuffing right at the end.
Oh, no, not again.
So, every year we'll just keep learning and improving.
Maybe you should put someone else in charge of the ballot counting.
Well, it's out in the open on Facebook, but all of a sudden his wife started voting. And, subtle influence, but we've made a lot of progress.
I understand. Hey, so tell everybody what we're drinking. We're here at Micallef, and he pulls out a special body that I've never had before.
Yeah, I wanted to introduce you to one of my favorites, which is Ron Zacapa, which is a rum from Guatemala. It's the 23. They have an XO, and they have the 23, and they actually have a rum that's kind of got a smoked version or taste to it.
How's that?
I don't like it.
Okay.
But that's just me. A lot of people who enjoy like smoke-cured cigars and other products like scotch that's smoky, they may love it. This is the original. I kind of fell in love with it. It doesn't have the price pressure as some of the whiskeys or the scotches. So for about $35 for a bottle, you've got a great product, and just beautiful
upper
combination.
echelon premium
That's
at
right.
$35 compared to a upper echelon bottle of bourbon. You're going to pay 75
or 100.
Right.
They do have an XO version. It's very good, but I don't think it's worth the premium. This is actually my preference.
Well, I like to see other people with that value price point because it's not about the price as much as it is the value for what you're paying for. So, I mean, it could be $100 and I think it's a great value, or it could be $30 and I think it's a great value. And then others I think are overpriced because they don't meet the value criteria.
That's right.
And that's one of the things I love about Micallef cigars is you guys over deliver on price point. And I that's one of the reasons I go on and on about Micallef cigars is because the Migdalia, it's like, I don't want to tell you how much I think you could charge for these because I don't want to pay it. But at $10, that is a major value cigar.
You know, I found myself saying, you know, there's other companies in the industry that we love and that we smoke regularly. And I was doing an interview and I had a Davidoff. It was a great cigar. And I said, I love this company and I admire them. I just don't admire their price point.
Right.
And so that often plays through at Micallef, you know, our portfolio from $4 to $42, but we want to make sure that we have great cigars at every step in that portfolio. So when you buy it, you feel like you're getting something better than you even thought of.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's one of the things that I tell on the show so often is it's about the value of the cigar because this cigar competes with the cigars that are, to me, $20 and up.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, it's no secret to the people who listen to the show. That's one of the reasons I love the Migdalia. I mean, to me, it's just the ultimate value stick. And that's not to say it's cheap. That's just to say that what you get for what you pay, it's a super value.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's just really important, we love our consumers and the ambassadors who give us feedback. We've talked a lot about the Migdalia today, but, you know, there's the Sumatra, there's the Matafina,
The
Leyenda. And so we really have a portfolio that everybody's going to enjoy what they smoke. And if we've done our job right, they're going to have 2 or 3 that they really love.
And I even say at the 42, the Reserva is a value because that cigar is lights out to me. And I don't smoke a lot of them because I don't fork out $42 a stick. But when I want to do a celebration, it's right up there with one of my top choices.
Yeah, it's funny. The Reserva is definitely our flagship cigar, but it turns out that the Leyenda Special Edition is the one I love.
Really?
And
Even better than the Reserva?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's
surprising. It's just not about price. It's about, you know, it just mirrors and aligns with the flavors that I love. Al Micallef, you know, the Reserva is the cigar that started it. It's his palate. It's an incredible cigar, but I prefer the Leyenda Special Edition.
Now, let me ask you this. This is something that I don't know. So when Al met Gomez and Sanchez, the cigar that he started with, was that the Reserva?
Yeah, it was the Reserva.
Wow.
They had spent 3 or 4 days with us and watched what he enjoyed smoking. And they came back with that in terms of the size and the flavor profile that he would love. And they nailed it.
Yeah, they did. So anyway, let's talk about our sponsors right quick. We're very blessed to have sponsors. And the one thing that our sponsors have in common is that they support brick and mortars. And of course, one of our sponsors is The Leaf in Abilene, Texas, our home brick and mortar shop. And it's at 1166 North 2nd Street. And if you look down in our show notes, we'll have their phone number next to The Leaf. You can call, make orders. And let me tell you, everyone that I've talked to that makes orders with Jay, it's shipped out pronto, great selection. And he carries both the Micallef line and the Viva La Vida, which is also one of our sponsors. We want to give hats off to Viva La Vida. They've come a long ways and they're doing some special things. You guys know we love Viva La Vida as well. And if you're not able to get Viva La Vida in your local brick and mortar, make sure you let them know that you'd like to get those cigars in. And if your cigar shop owner needs to contact Billy or Gus, you can reach out to me and I'll get you the information to get them in your local shop. And then we come to the long-term, what would you say, relationship that we've had. And, you know, I always say that, you know, we are so thankful for the support Micallef has given us because Micallef didn't come to us. We pursued you. We were like that guy that wasn't married looking for a beautiful woman, and we found her. And so we want to say thank you to Micallef, because you guys have been with us for a long time. And I mean, everything that you guys do supports the brick and mortars, the consumers. You have a special relationship with your ambassadors. And if you're interested in becoming an ambassador, look down the show notes. There's a link to become an ambassador as well. And if you become an ambassador, you will get your own challenge coin with your own number. Mine is 298. What is your number?
You know, nobody's ever asked what my number was.
I just thought of that. I don't know your number.
I'm number 15.
Wow. So there, Bryant.
I've been waiting for this moment, but I wanted to have Brian in person when we got to discuss it.
You know what? He was going to try to come this week, but his wife's birthday was this weekend, and they went out of town to celebrate her birthday. I'm sure
Good
she's
for
like,
him. That's why he gets to stay married.
Oh, and his wife has been buying him gifts that are cigars. I mean, they have got a really
They've
nice
got a great
thing.
relationship.
Yes.
It's fun watching them.
Yeah, they are really something special. And so anyway, guys, we just want to say thank you to all our sponsors, especially to Micallef. You guys have been with us for a long time, and it's just a special thing to us. And I mean, the line of cigars, like you said, $4 to 42, 17 facings?
17 different blends
With several facings with
with
Vitolas.
multiple Vitolas.
I
which are
say
the size of
Vitolas.
just- Yeah, that's all right. I
You know,
understand.
that
you.
West Texas dyslexic kid.
You know, thank goodness Sam helped me with some vocal instruction.
Oh, nice, Sam.
So we've got 46 Vitolas that are in the market now that are under those 16 different blends.
I got you. And you got some new stuff coming up. You've got some news that you want to expand upon. So what's been going on at Micallef? What are you guys focusing on? What are y'all planning in the future? Tell me what you've been got.
Yeah, we were really excited. You know, in 2019, we put an open letter out to the industry about what our strategy would look like, really focusing on the brick and mortars. And last year, we were able to, you know, end our relationship with people like Cigar International so that we could become a brick and mortar exclusive. That's all been done. We promised it. We did it. We continue to focus on the ambassadors. We think that's one of the most important parts of our business. You're sitting in our conference room today. You can see the large TV to our side. It's kind of like having almost 6,000 board directors who join you when you have meetings.
Yeah, that's great.
So we have a lot of feedback there, and we have a lot of conversation. We have a lot of fun. But there were some other things that we had made in terms of our promises that we were going to do for the industry. And it's beginning to unfold. At the beginning of this year, I wrote a note to the ambassadors. You know, they get all the inside information about the company before anybody else does. And we talked about a new cigar release in March. And we're going to have a special guest follow me,
Oh, nice. Yes.
Amanda Micallef. And we're going to let her talk about that cigar. But I'd like to talk for a few minutes about the promise we made last year about growing the premium cigar market to different audiences. And
What does
we're
that
doing
look
there.
like?
So for us, you know, there's a lot of ways you can do it. It's predominantly it's a male market. Men dominate it in terms of the purchasing. And that's great. We love it. That's what we are and we enjoy and have for many years. But we think that there's a huge opportunity to engage with women and serve them and help bring them into the cigar market.
And I think that is something that's long overdue. So I appreciate the fact that that has become a focus for you guys.
Yeah, it's more than a focus. I mean, you start with Al Micallef at the top. You know, it's no secret. Al loves the ladies. He loves to have them in his presence and company when he's out on social events. You know, he said several times that to him, hell would be to go to deer camp with a bunch of guys. He'd much rather spend the evening at a cigar lounge and have men and women and have a great evening there.
Right.
And so my perspective, you know, I've always been surrounded by really strong women, whether it's my mother or grandmothers. They did a lot of things that were kind of unconventional at the time. You know, she's a doctor or has a doctorate. I had a grandmother that would take her friends in an Airstream and they would drive to Argentina in the 40s.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So when you're surrounded by, you know, not just the women that you love, but these role models, you're excited and you want them in other parts of your life. And I think that we've seen over the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of women join us in the whiskey side of
absolutely.
the entertainment business. I know you're a huge whiskey fan.
I am.
I think that you find that you're seeing more women make great recommendations, and they're selling whiskey. They're starting to craft whiskey as part of those families. We just think that the cigar is a natural extension of that. We're excited to be able to think long and hard, where we spent about a year, and how we can engage in a deep and meaningful way, something that when you present it, you're helping the brick and mortars grow their business, which is key to us. And we know that women are just like men. They're going to try their first cigar. They may or may not like it. We just want to encourage them to come to the lounges, have fun. It's an exploration or it's an adventure to learn to smoke.
Oh, absolutely. It's a journey.
Yeah, it's absolutely a journey. So we want to be able to become one of their first stops when they do smoke, help onboard them into the premium cigar industry. And we know that they're going to have other cigars that they love just like men. There's no difference. We all have these great tastes, but for some reason, half the population wasn't involved in it.
Well, you know what I think also, when I think of the women cigar smokers that I know, I'm going to come out and say this. I think in general, women's palates are more sensitive than ours, and they can pick up notes that I don't get. And so to me, they have an advantage over me. Like, Jamie Stevens writes our cigar reviews.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
she writes great reviews.
Yeah, and I read her reviews, and then I go back and I smoke these cigars that she writes about, and I'm like, wow, yeah, I can really pick it out if someone gives me a tour before I smoke it. And so maybe it's not all men, but a lot of men that I know, we're more basic when it comes to the palates. And I know there's some guys out there over at Half Wheel, those guys.
They're superstars.
Yeah, they're superstars when it comes to palates. But just so many of the women smokers that I know, when they tell me the notes of the cigars, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I think it's really fun that once you start incorporating women, whether it's your girlfriend or your wife, we've got Matthew Tobacco has his mother smoking now.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and you start doing this as a family and you kind of get to go through that discovery process. It's just a lot more fun and enriching. For us, there's kind of a business side that we think about how do we grow, but there's really the passion behind. We want to bring women who we love into this, community that we love and celebrate them.
Right.
And I think that you're going to find that there's a lot of untold stories about how women have always been involved in the smoking or in the tobacco and cigar industry.
If you go back to the rolling of cigars, what's the percentage of men and women rolling back in, the 30s and 40s? It was crazy. I was reading an article about a local tobacco factory up in I believe it was Ohio back in the early 1900s. Right. And it was probably 50% women rolling at that time. And then if it wasn't women, the other probably 30% was school age kids.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that
the
happened.
truant officer would come by.
Really?
And they would hide the kids in the stairwells while the truant officer walked through the factory floor.
Well, rest assured, in Nicaragua, at our factory, that's not happening.
Yeah, we have evolved since the 1900s, early 1900s.
But, I just wanted to take a few minutes and just really thank you, Rob, for the relationship that we have. Amanda, I'm incredibly excited that she's come on board as our marketing VP a little over a year ago. And, it made sense that we wanted to bring women into premium cigars. Then having somebody on your team like Amanda, who went on her own journey from a non-smoker to a smoker. So we could really think about, what do you encounter? How does a cigar feel in your hand? Is it scary? What are the considerations that as guys who've smoked for 20, 30 years, we forgot those days when you're starting.
Absolutely.
And so being able to have a person on your team who's a credible businesswoman herself, going through this journey and beginning to think about what do we need to have in place to make sure that women are welcome that they enjoy and have fun every step of the way, they're going to end up smoking everything from light cigars to heavy cigars. They'll go wherever their palates take them.
Absolutely.
We just want Micallef to be at the first of that journey, and part of their daily rotation or weekly rotation to be a Micallef cigar.
Sure. Sounds good. Well, thank you for having us again, and we will get Amanda on the show, and we'll get to hear her side, because when I think of Amanda, she, to me, is a pioneer in so many ways. And, I'm a big fan of the story of her doing the Cannonball Run, but what she did out in California on her own was amazing too. And so for her to be here, part of the Micallef team now, I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, we're incredibly fortunate. You're setting the table very well for the conversation. As a leader, Al Micallef and I are completely committed because we love having women around us when we're smoking. I know that the sales team feels the same way. So to have a business that was ready to make a move and then have an almost perfect person come in, starting that cigar journey, who was out telling stories in movies, who's out in social media for LA for 20 years, to be part of what we're doing right now, it's just absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I think that's great. So let's get Amanda on over here, and let's see what she has to say about the subject matters.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
Dan.
Appreciate you.
We thank you. Hey guys, before we get to Amanda's interview, I wanted to show you the humidor that we got from Case Elegance. It's called the Octodor. It's a beautiful humidor. I mean, this has a black piano walnut finish. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's snug, it's tight, it fits great. They have inside the wood, they've placed a magnetic system that holds the lid down snug and tight, so you don't have to worry about losing your humidity. It's got a real glass top, and it looks phenomenal. And then you open up the inside, it's got a removable tray. You can see the Case Elegance name right there on it. And then they also ship with it a patent pending solution to keep your cigars humidified. If you look down at the very bottom of the humidor, it has a removable lid where the humidification system fits down underneath your cigars. And so they have everything that you need in one package. You get the humidor, you get the solution, you get the beads, and you get the tray. So it'll hold all your cigars and keep them humidified. Now, if you look at the front of the humidor, it has a digital hygrometer, and that will keep you informed of what your humidity is at all times. And I tell you what, that is so handy. I wish I had a couple more of my humidors like that. And then if you look down the bottom, there's an accessory tray, and that's where you can keep your travel humidor, you can keep your lighters, you can keep your cutters. That way, whenever it's time to smoke, you always have what you need with you. I love being able to find my stuff. Let me tell you, you don't know how many times I'm looking for lighters. Maybe I'm forgetful, but I can tell you what, it is so nice being able to keep all your stuff right here. So when you're ready to smoke, you have everything that you need. Now, I also want to tell you that the complete interior is Spanish cedar, and so you're not going to lose any of your humidity. This thing is a humidity magnet. It's going to be lights out. And then if you look on both sides, it has space gray metal handles, and then also, instead of just two, which a lot of the humidors I've seen just have two hinges, it has three. This thing is made like a tank. It is beautiful, but it's also very sturdy. They made it very well. But anyway, make sure you go by and check out the Case Elegance website. We've got that posted down below. It'll be in the show notes. And I tell you what, I love this thing, and we're going to give it away. We're not going to keep it for ourselves, and we'll be letting you know how you can win this Octodor on an upcoming episode real soon. But go by and check out. They carry a lot of other things too. So we're just pleased to present this to you guys. Anyway, guys, up next is Amanda Micallef. All right, guys, welcome back. We have Amanda Micallef with us now. We're so glad to have you back on the show. It's been a while.
Hi, Rob. How are you? I'm excited to be here.
I'm doing good. You've got you're so busy. You're always coming up with like new and exciting things. And so that's one of the reasons that we wanted to get down here and have you on the show and talk about what you've been working on. But before we get to that, let's talk about what you're smoking and what you're drinking.
Well, I'm smoking Migdalia 4x46.
Okay.
Which is my favorite Migdalia.
Okay.
There's a lot of talk around here about what the best one is. All of you guys are wrong.
Well,
this is clearly the superior cigar.
I got you.
And I'm drinking some Texas whiskey, but it's heavily peated. It's Balcones peated whiskey. Sam introduced me to this distillery. It's outstanding. But yeah, it's like a peated scotch.
I didn't know they made that.
I didn't either until about 6 weeks ago.
And is that just considered a whiskey?
It is, because it's not, I mean, you can't be Scotch unless you're from Scotland.
Well, we have a big debate on that as well. Like Texas and California and other states as well make bourbon. And I'm like, that's not bourbon. It's whiskey,
right?
But it's not bourbon, because bourbon has to come from Kentucky. And that's the way I feel about it. But
so similar, you can't have a Scotch that's not from Scotland. I have mixed feelings. To me, it should really be more the style of the drink, because as a consumer, I want to know.
You want to know that whiskey tastes like Scotch
more than I'm really looking for the region necessarily.
I gotcha.
So it's like champagne. There's lots of things like that, right? That we've said you can't call it something, but we don't have a good word for in the style of.
I think you could change it up to be, maybe Texas bourbon. And that way people know it's like bourbon, but it's made in Texas or wherever it's made.
Yes.
Anyway, so I've never heard of a Texas whiskey with peat. That's something new.
It is excellent. You should try some before you leave.
Now, do you like something really peaty?
I do.
Now, like in the Scotch realm, what Scotch do you prefer that's real peaty?
Oh, I'm not going to be a good person to answer this.
Well, have you had like Laforag?
I have, and I like that a lot.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I do.
I'm impressed.
I like something heavily peated. This is, and I like a strong drink.
Yes.
I don't go in for the lighter fare.
I got you. Well, I like a strong drink too, but I'm not a big fan of peaty. I like Scotch, but I like the lesser, the creamier peat, like a Springbank. And I don't know if you know this, but like when you have a peaty drink, it can be like bold and hard peaty. Mm-hmm. But if it's more on the lighter side, the reason for that is because the peat is actually on the shoreline. And whenever there's like the peat growing where the water continuously crashes and it's real frothy, that lightens the peat.
I did not know that. That's very interesting.
I thought it was interesting. There's a little trivia that you can ask someone sometime.
I like that.
But anyway,
I like that. So
let's talk about what you've been working on. It's been a while since I talked to you, and so lay it on us.
This has been in the works for quite some time. We are working on a special edition that's coming out on March 8th. And it's coinciding with sort of a big conversation that Micallef's going to be having for, at least this year, but I'm hoping really for much, much longer.
From now on.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be part of the conversation.
Absolutely. So March 8th is International Women's Day.
I knew that.
Yes, which is, it's I think it's a cool day because it's really just about celebrating women from all over the world in all walks of life, regardless of what they do.
Right.
So you can be celebrating, women who stay at home and take care of their kids, which is an incredible thing, to, women who work in factories, women executives, women who started their own business. It's really just encompassing that women are an essential part of, the workforce.
Right.
No matter how you define that. And so we really wanted to do something special to recognize that and to recognize all the women that work in cigars. So we decided to come up with a special edition of our Migdalia cigar, which, celebrates the matriarch of the Gomez Sanchez family.
Very nice. Tell us a little bit about it.
So it's a 5x40 Corona. Migdalia, it's the same blend that you're familiar with the regular Migdalias. Only this one is a special edition in sort of limited numbers. So I think it's going to go fast. So get your hands on some if you can.
And a 5x40, mm-hmm. I think you're going to get a lot of flavor out of that because you're getting, a minimal amount of filler versus wrapper. So I think that cigar is going to taste amazing.
It really does. It's certainly like the other Migdalias, but I think it's a little creamier, a little lighter, but still very complex.
Very nice. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
It's a good one, which definitely we were fortunate enough to have some samples here, and it's definitely become one of the favorites.
All right. Very nice. So what is it that you look to do to promote women in the industry of cigars?
I think one of the most important things is just to put more information out there. When I, started at Micallef Cigars late in 2019, I really did still sort of think of it as the domain of men. Not that I didn't think women could smoke. Certainly, I'm a tomboy through and through, and I think women can do whatever they want. But you don't think about it as a business that women aren't actively participants in, which is completely untrue.
Which mainly as a consumer, because in the industry, you do have a lot of women engaged in whether it be a brick and mortar cigar shop, in the factories, sales reps. So, really the consumer level of female participation. Can't say it right today. Anyway, we want to look at including women as consumers because that's like the missing link, it seems to be.
I completely agree. I do think part of opening more women to the idea of smoking cigars is helping share the stories of the women that are involved in making cigars. And I don't think a lot of people know that women are part of this industry beyond sort of the quintessential myth of, women rollers in Cuba and things like that, which certainly exist. But
oh, absolutely.
Women are heavily involved in a lot of cigar companies, from growing tobacco all the way through marketing. There are women executives, running major companies today. And I don't know that that's necessarily something that a lot of consumers know, men or women. And I think the more that story gets told, it will also open, more people's eyes to the idea that women can be consumers as well. And then I just think that, women, the demo of women is changing today. More and more women are in, executive roles. More and more women are looking to other things that were sort of traditionally.
We have a female vice president.
We do. Exactly. And, women, drive whiskey and scotch today sales.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's not something that was true 10 or 15 years ago. And so I think as women start, really becoming interested in things that maybe would have traditionally been thought of as a sort of male space, I think cigars are a really natural extension of that.
Absolutely. And, I think that more women in the cigar lounges, the brick and mortars, is a breath of fresh air. I think that, I get tired of hanging out with just all the guys, but at the same time, they bring a different perspective. And so, like, I have friends, I'll just say Deborah at the Leaf. She smokes everything. She smokes so many cigars. She smoked more different cigars than I have. But she's been smoking for about 5-6 years longer than I have. And she lived in Florida for some time. So she was right there in the mecca of cigars. And it's funny because I remember going to an event where the sales rep at the event, when she came in, was like, "Oh, let me let you sample this Light Connecticut." And she was offended. She was like, "You think because I'm a woman that I can only handle a Light Connecticut? I smoke every one of these guys in here under the table. So I want this cigar," and it was one of those eye openers to me because I didn't realize that certain cigar lounge atmospheres treated women differently. So that's something that we've really been like, hey, women have just as much opportunity to enjoy every cigar in here as we do. And a lot of them, to me, like Deborah, has an amazing palate. I referenced it earlier with Dan that Jamie Stevens has an amazing palate. So I kind of feel like some of the women that I've been around that smoke cigars have better palates than we do. And maybe it's because they pay attention more, or maybe it's that I don't pay attention enough, but something's a little different there. And I think it's a breath of fresh air coming into the lounge.
It's actually biology. Women have the ability to notice nuances in taste and smell greater than men do, just genetically. See? Yes. So you're not wrong.
I figured it out, but I didn't know why.
So it really is true that women really can sort of pick apart the different notes in a way that it's a little more challenging for men.
Very interesting.
It is. And so I do think that makes it really interesting as women will start smoking more and more to kind of hear how they choose to do, flavor notes or review cigars and things like that. And you work a lot with a female cigar reviewer, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. And, Jamie's been with us for, over a year and 2 months. And she knocks out amazing reviews on cigars that cover the spectrum. It's not just, light cigars, flavored cigars, bold cigars. She smokes everything. And so to get her perspective and for her to talk about the different notes in the cigar, I love it. And the cool thing about it, if you guys haven't gone by our website at cigartalkpodcast.com to look at Jamie's reviews, she gives it in a personal way. So it's not just like data. You know what I mean? It's not boring. So I appreciate everything that she does. But I think that I would love to see what you're going to do to incorporate bringing more women consumers into the market.
We have some fun things planned, some of which I'll tell you about today and some we'll reveal over, the next couple of weeks and months. But I think one of the biggest things is just openly talking about it. I think there's this unspoken idea about owning the fact that a lot of people just assume women want to smoke flavored cigars, and some do, but not all do. And
I don't hardly know any that do on a regular basis.
Right. And so I think, the more that we can just be really open about the conversation and that different people like different things and different people like different size cigars and there's no right or wrong to those things, it'll start to lessen these preconceived ideas that I think turn a lot of women off, to be perfectly honest.
Sure.
That there are women who are interested in smoking, but they don't want to be treated like the little lady coming into the lounge.
Right.
They want to be able to come in on their own, on the same footing and the same sort of level or amount of respect that you would, have any man who walked into the lounge. And then I also think, women don't always want to speak up, and even men to some degree, and say, the lounge at first can be a very intimidating place.
Even for guys.
Absolutely. And so I think the more that we can try to dispel some of the ideas of what a lounge is and isn't and what to expect and how to conduct yourself and how to, light a cigar and ask about cigars and
let's dive
make
into
a big difference.
That aspect just a little deeper. As a female cigar smoker yourself, what experiences have you had going to different lounges? Not to name the lounges, but positive or negative that you would like to see how it should be.
For sure. So I've been really fortunate. I don't know that I've had any negative experiences going to lounges. I definitely had a preconceived idea of what going to a lounge would be like. And it's nothing like that. I thought it would be very cliquish. When you first walk in a lounge, you can tell there's different groups sitting, depending on how the lounge is set up. And there's this idea until you've been there that they, you can't sit with us. Like they've already sort of got their group. And, that I would not know what I might like to smoke or be able to I would know so little that somebody wouldn't be able to guide me towards something that I would like. It's kind of the opposite of that. Lounges are unbelievably welcoming.
Absolutely.
I have never gone into a lounge and felt like once I, walked up to a group or introduced myself, that people weren't open and welcoming to include, me in the part of the conversation. I think part of people wanting to go to lounges is to have different conversations and to meet new people. And it doesn't always look like that from the outside, but when you're actually in it, you sort of discover that it is a very friendly place.
Right.
And so, it's been very, very positive, and I've been very fortunate. I do think, there is a lot of times there are not a lot of women in lounges. So I do think sometimes when a woman shows up, people could be very excited and they can show that person a lot of attention. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes women can feel a little overwhelmed by the amount of attention they're getting, and it can actually be a turnoff. So, one thing that I hope that we continue to have a very transparent, open conversation about is sort of, treat this person who comes in, whether she's male or female, as you would any other
cigar
male
smoker.
Or female. And so be friendly and be open, but you don't be so overly solicitous that you might be making somebody uncomfortable.
All over them, please.
Yes.
Because I've seen that happen, and it makes me just be like, man, sit down and let her enjoy the experience. Yes. Leave her alone. And I remember I was at a lounge that I had actually set up a ladies' night, and it didn't go well, and that was only because, it's a new idea. But I think that lounges across the nation should do at least, like if they have a membership area, they should start doing a ladies' night once a month so that women can get together as friends and no men are allowed back there. They can come and chit chat and drink or whatever they want to do. But I think that's a great way to introduce women in a vibe that's not intimidating, where you're with your friends.
Yes.
And so the first night we did that, it didn't go over well just because there was only one woman show up. And then we had this one guy that went back there and sat with her the whole time. And I was like, she was reading a book. Leave her alone. She was enjoying a drink, a book, and a cigar. And so, I don't know what the perfection of that looks like, but I think just making people feel comfortable, and you know what that looks like. So if you're comfortable, because I can imagine, I know when I came into a lounge the first 3 or 4 times at my home lounge, I would walk in and I was so intimidated because there's all these guys that they look like they know what they're doing. I don't have a clue. So I can't imagine the same feeling for a female walking into a lounge and it's all men and they don't have any experience. It's very intimidating for other guys. So I know it must be for women. So I would say that even for, and I say this for all cigar smokers, if you're new to a lounge and you're really a new cigar smoker, the first thing that is wise is go in and talk to the tobacconist and let them be your guide.
Yes. Bring a friend or make a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you're a man or woman, I think that makes a big difference. I have been to some female events that were really thoughtful about. The event was open to men and women, but they had an area where they sort of went through sort of some cigar basics that was off to the side just for women so that they could kind of get comfortable and get used to things, without feeling intimidated.
And feel good about asking questions.
Yes. And then, but still allowed, the commingling was still allowed as well, which is kind of the perfect mix. Because I think, what you also don't want to create is that there's this, girl, it's not the, lunchroom when you're a kid, right? There's not the girl side of the lunchroom or the guy side of the lunchroom. The idea is cigars are an incredible community and we want people to feel comfortable smoking with their, brother, sister, girlfriend, wife, partner, whatever. And so, I think it's important to provide some early access to information in whatever way a new smoker is comfortable getting it. And then also encourage people to smoke as, a mixed group and become comfortable with that idea. I think we'll also lessen that idea every time a girl walks in of like, oh, there's a girl here. And everybody wants to talk to her. And so what I'm hoping is that as we start setting up events and doing more and more around kind of introducing cigars to women, that we do set up some female-only events, but also that we try to really encourage a lot of sort of mixed or co-ed events. And so that when we're marketing events, it's not just about kind of marketing to the typical
I like that.
consumer, but that it's like, hey, bring your partner or bring your girlfriend or bring your husband, however you do it. But we really structure things to be set up for, friends or couples or whomever to enjoy together.
Right. Well, I think that's a great idea, the integrating, because you want everyone to feel comfortable when they come back and they might not be in an all women's group.
Yes.
So I think that's very important.
Yes. And one of the things that when I talk to men that smoke, so many of them have a woman in their life that they would love to smoke with them. And so I think encouraging, that kind of night is also going to be, I hope, a big hit, but I hope kind of open other people's eyes to, oh, wait, I can do this with my, significant other.
And if you think about the level of conversations that go on in brick and mortars, it's a very open forum. And so if you are with your significant other or your sister, it just is a place where you can have relaxing conversations. You know what I mean?
Think about if people who smoked just 3 cigars a week did that with somebody special in their life instead of alone or with a different group of friends, how much healthier a lot of relationships would be.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that is the beauty of, you can only smoke a cigar so fast. And so you're sort of, in a good way, forced to slow down and have a conversation and take time with the other person. And I think that's a really positive thing. And so I really believe whether it's, work groups going out for cigars instead of, drinks happy hours, or whether it's, couples getting together or family getting together, that by creating a really social environment around cigars, I think it actually, really will drive great conversations for people too.
I agree 100%. And I think that you will find the better level of conversations at a cigar lounge versus a bar, just because there's so many things going on in a bar, where when you're in a lounge, the main thing going on is you're sitting around talking.
But it's funny you should say that, because one of the things that I can't stand about a lot of bars is they're so loud.
And yeah, they're busy. Everything's bustling.
You can't possibly talk to anybody.
Right.
I mean, and it's a funny thing. It's like, why do people get together to go out to a place that you have to scream to be heard?
Or the person's just nodding their head, but they have no idea.
Yes. I mean, we've all been there, right? And cigar lounges are completely different than that. And so I think it, can become this really interesting place for people to choose to meet instead of over coffee or, over a drink. I just think we're not yet, it's not in everyone's repertoire yet. And I think it would be really exciting to change that.
And that's a great journey from when you start until you get seasoned as a cigar smoker, which, when I say seasoned, that doesn't mean 10 years. Seasoned cigar smokers can be 6 months. Mm-hmm. It's just being able to go in and enjoy a cigar without the intimidation factor. That's, to me, as a seasoned cigar smoker. You don't have to know everything about cigars to go in and enjoy yourself with other cigar smokers.
Absolutely. And also, that the frequency of smoking cigars is completely up to you.
Oh, absolutely.
That some people want to smoke multiple cigars a day, or they're going to be in their lounge every day at, 6 o'clock.
Right.
But that you also can be completely comfortable and welcome in a lounge and only go in once a week.
Absolutely.
Or once a month.
Right.
And, that's okay too.
Well, and what I love about, I went to the cigar lounge yesterday, and when I go to the cigar lounge, I know I'm going to be there for an hour and a half. And so I know, there's going to be guys up there that I know, and we actually have a few different women that smoke cigars. And so I know I'm going to have a great conversation, whether it be with Brian or Larry or Deborah. And it's one of those, we don't even think about it when Deborah's in the lounge that she's female.
Right.
It's just, she's a cigar smoker like us. And, she's been in the cigar industry for some time. In fact, she actually worked at the Leaf for some time just on Friday nights when Jay was shorthanded. And she's a great tobacconist as well. So, it just gives a fresh perspective on cigars and just life in general that you might not get to hear if you don't have the females coming in as consumers.
Yes. And one of the things I've been most surprised as we started kind of looking deeper and deeper into this is how many women are tobacconists or managers or own cigar lounges. I was blown away. Really pleasantly surprised that it's not a big leap to think that, women are going to start consuming more and more cigars. It's actually going to be a very natural progression of what's already happening. But there's so many women in the industry already that are mostly providing cigars for men right now, but would be so excited to see their, female consumers grow.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. So now earlier you told me you were working on a little something that you couldn't tell us everything about it, but you would tell us a little bit about it.
So, that is true. And I'll happily come back and tell you more details. But really, I started thinking a lot about wanting to introduce cigars to more people. And, I started talking to a lot of my friends and kind of, would you ever smoke a cigar? And it's interesting that the things that concern people or the questions people have seem to be exactly the same. And it's really, people are just unsure of how to smoke a cigar, what they would do, where they would go, things like that. And so one of the things we're working on is something that we hope can help answer a lot of those questions for people, to sort of reduce the scary factor and really give people the confidence that they can completely embrace this if they want.
And that's a positive for everyone.
Without a doubt, and we're talking a lot about, women today, but the bottom line is, I have found this incredible community in the last 18 months since I started smoking. And it's really experience based. Cigar smokers are unbelievably friendly and open and giving and gracious people. through the ambassador group, I'm regularly blown away by the kindness people show each other.
Oh, it's amazing.
And they only know each other in digital space. And so when you do know people in the community and actually know them from your lounge, I think that sense of friendship and camaraderie is even greater. And so I also want to be really thoughtful, though we really are talking about women predominantly, and that's something I want to focus on and something I'm very passionate about, but that nothing we do is limiting to men either, because I think for the community as a whole, the more people that are introduced to the warmth and the friendship that you can find in the great conversations, it's just better for the cigar community overall.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you guys have been to the, I thought he was waving at me. Sorry about that. There's a cigar shop I just happened to stop off at up in Denton. I think it's just Denton Cigar Lounge. And I'd never been there before. And I walk in, and there's probably about 20 guys in there smoking. And they were all sitting in a circle, basically, but there was not an empty chair. So I went over and sat by myself and ordered coffee. And they were great, by the way, French press. And when my coffee was this much down, the guy comes over and pours me a topper without even me asking. I was like, wow, that's great service. But within probably 15 minutes, two of the guys that were in that circle came over and sat down and asked what I was smoking, where I was from. And next thing you know, I meant to smoke one cigar there and I smoked three.
Yes.
And it was like that. And that's the experience that I want for men and women, just cigar smokers in general.
Yes.
So what you're focusing on and what you're promoting, I say hats off. Of course, you guys know hats off to everything y'all do, because y'all just knock it out of the park in every way. Every time I talk to you, y'all are doing something new. And it's like you guys are really showing that you care about the consumer and the brick and mortars and the ambassadors.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the brick and mortars we talk about a lot, and they are the backbone of the industry. I think that everything we've talked about today is really about having a lounge or a shop that you can smoke at being available, and they fight every day to make sure that they can continue to be open and do that.
Absolutely.
And without that, cigar smoking would be really different if everyone was just able to smoke at home. Not to say it's not. I mean, it's great to sit outside and have a cigar and think about whatever business issue or vacation or whatever's on your mind. But the ability to be able to sit down with a group of people, and they come from different industries and different walks of life and different socioeconomic backgrounds, that happens at a lounge. And if that went away, it would really, really change the sort of whole scope of what, being able to enjoy a cigar is. So we do put a lot of thought and care into making sure that we are the best partners we can be for our brick and mortars. And then the rest is, we're very fortunate because people compliment us all the time. But the bottom line is, it's really not about us. What we're doing is driven completely from the ambassador group specifically and the consumers as a whole. At the end of the day, if we're not putting cigars out and programs out and things that the consumers want to engage in, we may as well pack up and go home.
And I love that that's the way you feel about it, because I think a lot of cigar companies miss that, though. I see a lot of cigar companies that have had success and they're happy with that success, and they just put their cigars on the shelf and hope you buy them.
Well, and if I'll be honest, if they can do that and they keep selling cigars, good for them. It's really counter to kind of how we think, but it's really also counter to how I think anybody in a consumer-facing business should think.
Right.
Like, it's so easy to get tied up in what you want, but at the end of the day, you can make things you want all day long. If somebody else doesn't want them, you're not going to be in business very long.
Right.
And we're really honored that we get to, make great cigars and put them in stores and have people, enjoy smoking them. And the feedback we get is exceptional and humbling. But if we stopped thinking about what our consumers really wanted and only built the cigars we want, I don't know that we would have that position for very long.
Right.
And so I think it's just always really, really important to remember that everything we're doing, we do in collaboration with our ambassadors and our brick and mortars. And, we do it that way because we want to be around for, the next generation and on.
Absolutely. Well, I think you're doing a great job. I can definitely see your touch put on Micallef cigars. I love the way you think as far as taking care of the consumers. And, you know, I was a huge fan of what you were doing out in California. That blew me away. And so when you came here, it's like, I was just like, oh, things are going to get good. They have.
Well, thank you. I've been really, really fortunate, and really, we're also just having a lot of fun, which hopefully comes across as well. That, we have a really good time.
And I think that makes it. If you're not having fun, I think that shows. And you guys are having a lot of fun.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And before we go, we want to say thank you to our Patreon members. You guys make the show available every week. We just want to say thank you. We just sent out our challenge coins, our poker chips, and our patches to all those guys. And I had somebody ask me actually today how to get those, and those are all exclusive to our Patreon members. So if you're interested, there will be a link down in the show notes. You can join up and become part of the Light 'em Up crew. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the show. And until next time, keep smoking.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Thank you. All right, now let's do